reviews, discussions, and theories about films in horror, sci-fi, and genre. This is The Horror Deconstruction. Like, share, and subscribe to hear more.
What's up, everybody? It's The Horror Deconstruction. You're funny on Facebook, but most likely on YouTube. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon, hit that thumbs up. Let people know you listen to the show with your host Komp for 31 Days of Horror this October. Today's film is The Night Eats the World. Original title, La Nuit a dévoré le monde. 2018. The morning after a party, a young man wakes up to find Paris invaded by zombies, or Paris. Directed by Dominique Rocher, written by Pitt Agarman, who did the novel, Jeremy Guez, who did the screams, which are red with black figures, and they both have upside down imagery, which uses the Eiffel Tower. It's very interesting that I've seen both of these films, and they're both actually pretty entertaining. So any horror movie that is in red and black and has the Eiffel Tower upside down, it's probably going to be pretty good. Very funny how they're two separate type of films, but they're both entertaining in their own ways. As Above, So Below is a found footage film, surprisingly very good, as well as The Night Eats the World, which is a zombie film. And if you've heard me for a long time during this series of the horror deconstruction, I'm kind of out of it with zombie films. They have to be really super different for me to find something interesting in them, because they do always end the same way, with the zombies overtaking an area. And that's not different from this either, but it's the way that the film itself is presented and the strength in how the story is told. And this is not a zombie film for everybody, but I suggest everybody see this film, because when they see a zombie film, they sort of expect The Walking Dead, where it's just constant fighting all the time. All The Walking Dead spaces it out with character drama. And what this deals with is a one-man show mostly, because the main character, played by Anders Danielson Lee, who plays Sam, he's this guy who shows up to pick up his music tapes because he's a musician, and he's picking it up from his ex-girlfriend's flat. She's there with her boyfriend, and she invited him to pick up his stuff while there's a giant party. I think she still wants to be friends with him, and he wants nothing to do with it. I assume there's some bad blood, a bad breakup that happened there. He just wants his stuff. He wants to go. She's doing this thing where she's just being more of entertaining to everybody else while he wants to pick up his material and leave, and there's even a little scuffle between her new boyfriend and him, and so it's not a really fun scene. So he ends up, just looking for his stuff while his girlfriend's entertaining people with her new boyfriend, and he gets hit in the nose. There's the end of the episode, which I think there's a gaping hole in the plot. Not really, it's not a gaping hole, it's just a bizarre sort of act of psychic powers from the lead, which doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, so going back to the film, he wakes up and the whole world is ravaged by zombies. He tries to leave through the front door, and he's promptly almost attacked by, I believe it's his ex-girlfriend as a zombie now. And the streets of Paris are empty, save for a bunch of mindless zombies walking around, reacting to every sound that they hear. And so this is more of a character study. It's very silent. This movie is very silent, besides the, sounds of nature and stuff like that. Musical too. There's some interesting musical elements to it, because he is a drummer and a musician, obviously, but he finds a neighbor's house and gets to a drum set, and there's a pretty interesting scene where he's trying to make music using utensils and props that are in the apartment. It is graphic with some violence in it, but it's not overtly graphic. I wouldn't say this is a family horror film, a family zombie film, but I think it's passable enough to not be such a hardcore rating for it, although I'm sure it is an R rating because there's cursing and stuff like that. But I do like the lead character things and what he thinks about and how to take care of himself in this situation. He does one big giant stupid thing in the middle of the film, towards like the second half of the film, which is very dumb, very risky, very stupid. But it's interesting to show the desperation of a character who needs connection with anybody. He needs connection with somebody, and that stupidity destroys his judgment, because it's really interesting question that the movie poses is what's the point of living if you're not even going to risk anything? So that's a bigger question. But his risking at that moment is pretty dumb. He does better risking later on. But it's a really tense type of film. There's some interesting fake outs or things that you would expect to happen in a zombie film that doesn't happen, and things that do happen. It was funny to see Denis Lavant in this film because he's a very recognizable actor. Most likely Americans would. The guy who did a bunch of French movies that really people really like. But anyway, in this he plays like a zombie that's locked in, I believe, an elevator. And I was like, I know this guy's face, but I didn't know until I saw his name at the end. I was like, oh, cool, like that. He's a pretty well known actor, so it was so funny to see him in this. But he likes to take interesting roles, and I actually thought he was pretty well. He did well for a zombie character. It's pretty cool. There's also a secondary character played by Golshifteh Fahrenheit. Sorry if I mispronounced her name the first time. I might have pronounced it just as bad as this time. She's playing Sarah. She's a secondary character, but these characters don't really show up in this film towards like the latter half of the film. It really is a one-man show for the most part with Sam. I like his quiet act. You know, he's an actor that's not using much dialogue in this film. He does have conversations with himself and, you know, trying to figure stuff out. He's freaking out for the most part in this film. And just seeing like the gears working in his head through his eyes is such an interesting and unique type of film. So it's not really a proactive actioneer zombie movie like you would with like the immortal Brad Pitt in World War Z. This is more of not a laid back. It's very tense, and it's a true human drama in such a over the top situation that this character is dealing with. And I really, really liked the slow pacing of this. I was never bored by this film at all, even though typically because it's not such an actioneer film you think people would get sort of bored, but the fact it's like you're discovering everything with this lead character. I mean, he's for the most part 90% of the film is in this taking place indoors in an apartment, and we're just seeing him survive by like boiling water or catching, not boiling water, I think he does boil water to take a bath, but like catching rainwater, you know, so he could drink and take baths, and, you know, breaking into apartments so he can gather food for himself to survive, you know, weighing, rationing his food, stuff like that. It's really, really well done. You know, gives himself haircuts. He gives himself pretty good haircuts. And you know, just his interactions with, you know, zombies or, you know, Sarah later on in the film. It's not really a spoiler because I'm sure it's in the trailer, although I haven't seen the trailer, but I think it's really a solid little, you know, zombie film, and it's based on a novel. And I was interested in how, you know, if the novel's ending expands upon how the film ends itself, because I think it's a very satisfying film. And it goes with that idea, like I had mentioned before about, you know, so I would give this actually a solid like a 7.5 to an 8, a 7.5 out of 10, making the best indie album using trash cans and spinning tops in a room. So let me get into the spoiler part of this question. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, please get out of here. It's not super spoilery, but, you know, the Sarah character, don't listen. This is a gigantic spoiler. So Sarah is a character that shows up halfway through the film and is accidentally killed by him, but he has a conversation with her, you know, because he's losing it, and he's having a conversation with her throughout the latter half of the film, and he finds out that she jumps roofs to go to places. You know, she jumps from roof to roof, you know, and never stays in a place more than, I think, 3 days or something like that. And I don't know how he came to this, since he hadn't even opened up her bag, and when he does open her bag, he does find like a hook that you use to like scale buildings. And I was like, but he never opened it, and she died. She never really spoke to him at all. It was like it was all hallucination or something that played out in his mind. So I don't know how he knew that she had a hook. I don't know how he knew that she was able to jump roofs. Because the way she got into the building, maybe he just didn't see how she got in, or whatever. That was my only sort of question about this movie. But other than that, it was fine. I liked that he was able to hear the church bells at the end, which was signifying that there were people out there. Hopefully that wasn't another hallucination by him. But I thought it was a really well rounded out film, and it is a very scary movie. More in the fact that it's scary for you know, external reasons. It's a very spiritually scary film. But I really enjoyed it. And thank you for listening to The Hard Deconstruction.